Hello, everyone. In today's episode, I'm joined with Thomas, and in today's episode, we're going to be speaking about autism. And Thomas is going to talk a little bit about his autism and what all the wonderful things he does in the autism community. So, thank you, Thomas, for coming on today.
No worries. Thank you for inviting me, Mason.
Yeah, because I know you do some good work for like autism awareness, like on your page, and it's just, I suppose it's like a hobby, isn't it? Just to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a hobby. I do have a full-time job. I used to be a student in biomedical sciences, and I moved to a bit of special needs teaching for about a year, and now I'm working for a national development team that works with people with sort of vulnerable groups, to put it not very PC. So I have my full-time job, and a lot of the stuff that I do online is YouTube, YouTube videos, podcasts, Instagram stuff, and quite recently public speaking, which I'm getting into.
Yeah.
And all of it's centered around autism and mental health, basically.
Well, that's really good, because I feel like mental health is important as well, because it links into quite a lot of things that you can talk about, like autism, people with special needs, people who are vulnerable, and then you can always link mental health into that.
Well, I think it's especially quite important when talking about autism, because just looking at the statistics around it, there is a very high correlation between a lot of mental health statistics and autistic people. Like the rates of, for example, severe mental health, 1 in 3 for each autistic individual, which is, it's a big problem, and it's kind of one of the things that I like to focus on when I'm talking.
Yeah, I do like talking about mental health as well, because through the podcast we speak to people that have autism, and not just have autism, they teachers. I've spoken to a few teachers that have worked, and people who have autism, and so some of my teachers as well. I got a few of them on there. But yeah, I link that as well as having Crohn's as well, like Crohn's disease. So I speak to people with IBD as well, where I kind of like, originally I was speaking by myself, because I think starting my podcast started recently after the pandemic started, because I thought
good time to get into the creative business.
Yeah, like I wasn't much of a like I didn't know much about a podcast. I had to kind of like get logo, get name changed about 2 or 3 times. But yeah, once you got that, I felt like it was set. Like I just was torn by myself at the start. But then I thought, hang on a minute, I want to get people on the podcast, so I decided.
What kind of like, what is your sort of like motive for starting a podcast? Because for me, it was, I'd been creating content on YouTube for a fair amount of time, and I got to a point where I didn't really feel comfortable with just expressing my opinions without having another person to sort of bounce those ideas off. And it was that, and it was also that I just wanted to get better at speaking to people in an online context. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think talking to people makes you more confident as well, to do, just because you normally speak to people that you don't really know, really. But but what I do when I speak to someone who comes on the podcast, I don't say to them, you're not going to hear from me again. I do like to keep in contact with the people that I get on the podcast, because I know other podcasts, some podcasts out there where you just speak to them once and then you don't hear of it again. But I'm like that, and how it started for me was I did feel a bit like talking by myself on my own. Like I didn't like that. I'd like to speak to another person, at least one more person. Like, and I think it's easier because I know other podcasts. I've been on podcasts that have like a majority of people, like 3 or 4 people on it, as
that's
your host.
crazy.
And like you normally have the host, don't you? And then you have a couple of co-hosts. And then for me, I find it easier just doing it by myself. And then I invite.
I agree with you.
I invite a person on, sometimes 2 or 3 other people maybe, but just me as a host. And I find it's easier because if you're with other people as co-hosts and stuff like that, you have to arrange it with them. You have to pick a date what suits everybody. And if someone comes up for the other person, you all have to cancel. Which I just thought was too hectic like that. And
I feel like it especially for like autistic people, like I found that it's sometimes quite difficult to get into the flow of conversation with some autistic people, because it's, you know, that whole thing about not really grasping when to speak and when it's the other person's time to speak. And I feel like once you go above 2 people, I feel like it'd just be a really big mess of people trying to get the point across. And I quite like to give myself, I quite like to give people, one person, my full attention, and sort of, you know, have more of a 50-50 kind of split of sharing information and such.
Yeah, I think it's better that way rather than having quite a lot of people in it, and sometimes you're not me. They might focus on someone else and talk about different things.
It wouldn't work for me. No. I would just be talked over.
No. I've been on podcasts though that have had that 3 or 4 people. I've heard a few podcasts I helped start for people that have come on mine, which I think is great. You've got people out there who decided to start their own because they come on mine. And I always ask people if they've been on a podcast before we start, just to see if they have or not. Which I do like when they haven't, because it leads them to have something to look forward to when the episode comes out.
Yeah, it's kind of like fresh, kind of like a fresh take on it. It's like it's always the most exciting and the most nerve-wracking the first time that you do something like that. It's a bit of a trade-off. Like as soon as you've done it, after a while, the excitement wears down, but also the nerves are kind of tempered a fair bit as well.
Yeah. Like with YouTube, like I do have my own channel, but I don't put a lot on it, but I have done videos there and there about autism and stuff, but I'm not like I don't do it all the time, so I don't have many subscribers. Not many people subscribe to me on there, probably because I don't put much on. But what I've said now is what I'm going to do, because since last year I decided to do some podcast specials away from the series that I do. Just like you had the seasons, like Christmas, New Year, there was one, but I didn't put that one on. But because I'm going to start it from this year, where on my YouTube channel I'm going to put the whole episodes of all the special season episodes that I'll make. So I thought that was better than putting every single episode on the podcast, because that takes a lot of time. Especially if there's loads going on every week, I prefer just to do the old ones, like specials, and not everyone wants their episode to be on YouTube as well. Some prefer for it to be audio only.
Yes, yeah. Well, it kind of adds another dimension for you to think about stuff, doesn't it? It's, you know, like it's for me, the YouTube was a way for me to work on my outward sort of presentation skills, like my body language and facial expressions and stuff like that. Whereas with podcasting, it's more about the social aspect of it. So it's, you know, like reading the flow of conversation. Are you asking enough questions? Are you answering enough? Are you having the right voice inflections, because especially like if there's no video attached to a podcast, you can't tell what people are like feeling very easily, which is so it's but when you combine the two, I just find that it's sometimes too much for me to think about.
Yeah. That's why I do share clips. If it's not on YouTube, it is still on where people can see it. Where the podcast is probably more popular, like little clips of the episodes, and like if it's a podcast special. I always say when it's a podcast special, I didn't want to do podcast specials at first because I thought I don't want it to undermine the series part of it. But then I think that if I do it, I Christmas special with like like I had a Christmas one where I did the whole episode on YouTube, and I'm not gonna. It's just I thought it was a good thing to be a part of the podcast. Like I just thought it might have been good because I had a famous actor that was on Doctor Who. We talked about like relevant things about the podcast.
Christopher Eccleston?
No, it wasn't him. It was an actor called Simon Fisher-Becker who played Doria on Doctor Who. And we had a good conversation on there, and I thought I'll release it. I released it on Christmas Day, but then I just figured out how YouTube works and how to upload a full video. I did upload it just before the new year, but and then that got me to decide I'll put episodes on YouTube for specials like Halloween, for Christmas, for spring, for Easter, and not calling them specials because in a way, like if you have a show like Doctor Who, for example, that they call it a Christmas special and Easter special, in that way, not undermining the other people that have already been in it, not saying it's not a special for them, which it is. It's always a special for everyone who comes on, but meaning that it's just like a festive or a spring.
You're not detracting from your other guests.
No.
Kind of
just
an I understand that.
Just like if I want to have a break from recording from a series, I can put an episode like an Easter special on or something like that. Just call it that. So there's an episode going out, which I find is good. Like for other people, I suppose they get excited for it if a full episode goes on YouTube. Which some people like to see, and I think like with your podcast, Thomas, like how did that like come about at first?
Well, I'd been sort of creating stuff on YouTube as I said for a while, not really getting anywhere, to be honest. I mean, it's been up for quite a long time, and it's my style of content is very, very long form, and it's very, very sort of laid back, and it doesn't really meld well with the YouTube platform, which is all about sort of concise delivery of information. And it's not that I can't do that, it's just that I don't like doing that. And having a space to just pick a topic and just talk about stuff is just amazing. And I started it with the goal of perhaps reaching an audience that wouldn't find me on YouTube. Sort of, there's a lot of autism related YouTube channels out there. There isn't perhaps as many autism related podcasts, and I think it's a different set of skills, and I felt like it meshed well with the way that I like to do advocacy, basically.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea just to sit down, talk to someone like you say about a topic that you want to talk about, where like you'll find each guest you have like how you can speak to them, like if they're going to be a guest.
Everyone's different.
Talks. That's it.
Everyone's different.
That's the thing with autism. Everyone's different. Like I don't mind if someone don't talk as much. I don't mind if someone talks more. That means I get to sit back, and but which is fun. Like, you just hear what people got to say, and if they enjoy it, I think that's the main thing of the podcast.
So what's your history in terms of autism? Like, whenabouts were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in 2009, so I would have been 9. So I was diagnosed then, and I had quite a lot of tests for it. So I was diagnosed then, and I always thought autism was a bad thing. I always thought, because I ended up going to I did go to mainstream school at first, but that they wasn't understanding of my autism, because I wouldn't show that I was finding things hard, or I would just do the work. So I got moved to more of a special school where they have people with autism and different other needs that people have, and they understood more. It was more better, and I wasn't confident at that time, even when I did move to a special school. It was more when I got a bit older and realised that autism wasn't all bad for me. It didn't make me, like, I may not be as smart on an area, but another area I am. So I discovered that, and I always thought it was bad, and I was probably beat myself up about having autism at first, just because I thought it not many people talk about it, like praise rap or anything like that. So I decided, eventually I decided, to say if I was struggling, if I needed help, and then I did realise I didn't really care what other people thought of me if I did get something wrong. But like nowadays, I'll just laugh about, have a little joke if I do get something wrong. Like, I would take things more literally, like sarcasm, for example. But now I'm more like, get jokes and stuff. So more when I was younger, I wouldn't, and I'll probably get offended by someone making a joke about me where I'll probably, but like now I wouldn't. I'll just have a nice laugh.
That's good. I find it really interesting that you sort of made that switch from mainstream to a special school, because a lot of the autistic people that I've talked to very much highlight that, you know, the mainstream experience of school for autistic people is generally quite horrific and traumatizing for a large majority of us. And you know that you've always got that you've got that debate, particularly in sort of the parenting area of media around, you know, do I send my kid to a special school, or do I put them in a mainstream? And like, I'm still thinking about that, and you know, what would be better. I mean, obviously you have the mainstream aspect as, it's going to be harder, but you know, the majority of people that you're going to talk to are not going to be autistic in a regular sort of everyday setting. And then on the other side, you've got, is that worth all the anxiety and bullying and horrible experiences that you have in mainstream school? I don't know, honestly, but it's always a good sort of talking point. Well, when exactly did you make that move to special needs school?
I had a whole year in year 7 at school, and then I made the move.
Mainstream.
Mainstream, and I made the move. I think it was the start of the new year. It possibly could have still been in year 7, but I know I moved there in January of the new year, and I liked it. Teachers at like the mainstream school I went to, I did like a few. Don't get me wrong, I liked a few. I liked the maths teacher. I liked a helper. But the funny story was, when I left, they did. So we all left together, which was quite funny. Because we said, "Oh, we're going then," and one of the helper teachers, that was nice. They because at the end of the day they wanted me to wait for them just to say goodbye to each other, and then I waited for
Yeah.
ages. I did, and I left. But I did come back because he was there and he was looking for me, because I thought I waited this long, he's not turned up. So I ended up I did go back and see him, which a few teachers were good there, but a few was not understanding at all, especially if you have
Yeah.
autism. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think if at any time you probably left mainstream education at the right time for your overall mental health.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
the age of about year 9 onwards just tends to be an absolute horror fest. Like, it's the most confusing environment. It's incredibly hard to comprehend at that age. Obviously, looking back at it now, I can be like, right, I know what happens, but it's very much the case that I had to, think about what happened in secondary school when I was older and sort of frame it in a different way, because it was not acceptable environment for me. Just due to the mental health conditions that I picked up along the way.
yeah, yeah. Like mental health is a big thing. Like especially in school and mainstream school, it can really affect you. Like for example, I got told to go into after lunch. I got told to wait outside the library, and me and a couple of people in my class did for about 15-20 minutes, and I've still waiting. No teacher turned up, so I went back to the classroom and said, "Well, we've been waiting there," and then I got given a detention for it, just because I got. Well, I felt I got told that, and then I getting told that I haven't been told that, so I'm very confused and wondering why I then got a detention for something I didn't do. And then the following morning, the head of year comes to see us, pulls out a form, and he says, "Why was you late for lesson?" And in my mind, thinking that I suppose he's got more better things to be doing than worrying about why I didn't go, why I was a bit late. Even though I thought I was doing the right thing by waiting outside, and obviously there was communication that wasn't met properly, and really a detention wasn't the answers to things.
I had a similar experience. I I had this I had PE class before a DT class. So I don't think design technology, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
But one of the things that I tend to struggle with the most is my executive functioning. So like those sort of little things like time management, stuff like that. And one of that was something that's it's followed me into adulthood. And I remember this one particular time that I was trying to get ready, and then suddenly I was the only person left in the changing room. And I came and I was late to lesson, and they gave me a detention, and it was like the only detention that I've ever had. And I was like, no, you're tainting my perfect school record. I was very upset about it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something similar. It's just teachers not getting it.
Yeah, and
I
I
get it.
and when the head of year brought us out, of course, I was super scared. My heart, I felt my heart beating, like because the way you were speaking and stuff, like why didn't you turn up? And then everyone else is standing still like chickens, then there's me speaking on behalf of all of us.
Yeah.
And I said, I only got told, I only did what I thought I was told, and like you, this would have been my probably first detention I've ever had, because
Yeah.
I like to do the good thing.
And it really gets to you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Especially at that age, you're just like, oh, why?
yeah.
Why you
Why
do?
me?
Why?
Yeah, and eventually he did say, he says I'll let you off this time. And then I'm thinking, let me off of what? I didn't say that, of course, but that's what I was thinking. And I said, I'm only doing what I thought was right. And yeah, and then there's other things in mainstream that was like I putting the tie on at that time. It was hard. Like I couldn't do it, and
Yeah.
I asked my drama teacher once, and he said I can't do it. I'm not allowed. And I think, why you're not allowed? And then because I was so nervous, because I knew people were going to ask me to do it when I wasn't overly confident in how to
Mm.
do it myself.
Yeah.
And even I asked the teacher if they could show me, and they said no. So there's me at the end of the day running out of school, and not putting a tie on. And I remember one time the teacher pulled me aside outside the gate saying, "Put your tie on," and like just watching me like struggle. So every time I run to the car, because they're not like helping me or just putting a tie on, which it's not great, but that I suppose the 30, like as you say, is the right time to get out of mainstream.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's you also have that aspect of sensory difficulties that come in when you have to do your top button up and
yeah,
have a tie on. It's not very comfortable for most people, but I hated it. It was awful. I didn't like the constricting feeling of it, and it was, I still did it, but if if I have a kid and I send them to mention, I'm just like, don't do your top button, just keep your tie a little bit loose. Like, I'll deal with the teachers. You just go about, do what you.
yeah. Like, like in like when I went to like special school, it was like they had sensory rooms, which is good.
Yeah.
Soft play as
Oh,
well.
cool.
So it was quite good in that way. Like if you want to step out of class, teachers were understanding.
Mm.
There was a situation where it was very silly, but I laugh at it now. Um, I got a detention for not bringing in a pencil case to class, and
Yeah,
this wasn't at
that's
mainstream.
strange.
This wasn't mainstream. It was like a special school. So it was a science lesson, and um, at the time I don't say anything. Okay. We'll chat after class. We'll chat. And the funny thing was, we didn't even use the pencils or anything that whole lesson. We had computers. And then I had a conversation with her afterwards, the teacher afterwards, saying, "Why have I got detention for a pencil case that we never used? Or no one used
Yeah.
it?" And and the teacher said, "Is what you should do anyway. Bring one." And I said, "Yeah, but I normally bring one every single lesson. It's just a one-off. Like I didn't bring one. I might have left it in
Yeah.
another class." Which and eventually, because I got my point across, and it stuck there. She said, "I wasn't going to give you detention anyway. Just go to lunch." So I suppose if you fight for things or you get your point across, you reason with the people that are making decisions that are not the right ones.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, but like with your autism, Thomas, like if you talk a little bit about like your diagnosis, like when you was diagnosed.
Yeah, sure. I was diagnosed at 10 years old, which was 2007 for me. And it was a very strange part time in my life, because I wasn't really aware fully that I was different up until about that age of 9 or 10. And so, like the kids around me started to develop socially and emotionally a lot quicker than I did. So I did feel sort of like a little bit of an alien, like I didn't really fit in. And the diagnosis was really great for me, because it gave me a reason for all of that stuff and why I find things hard, and why I'd
Yeah.
why certain things upset me, which wouldn't upset other kids. And that was quite a key moment in my life, and I remember it very vividly. And of course, it came only when I got into my 20s that I started to really look into what autism meant and understand it, and understand how me as an autistic person is different to a neurotypical person, looking into the psychology of it and all. And you know, there was a lot of change that I had to do myself. I had to teach myself how to socialize, how to communicate properly, how to try and understand these strange creatures that we know as non-autistic people.
Yeah.
and and try and work in different settings with that. And you know, I don't feel I got anything negative from that, because my parents were always very encouraging. You know, they offered me support when I needed it, but they always sort of pushed me to do as much as I could. And you know, that those teachings that my parents gave me have followed me into all aspects of life, whether it's taekwondo, whether it's my university studies, whether it's podcasting, public speaking, anything like that. It's all been as a result of that sort of early life foundation, that I can do it. It's going to be harder than most people, but I can still do it. And yeah, I feel like I've strayed very far from your question, but
no, you it's like you only got diagnosed a year later than me. but
I did.
but like yeah, it's, I suppose that's the hardest part when you get diagnosis, because you're young, and I suppose you don't understand it fully yourself yet until you're older a little bit. Like
and people they don't explain it to you either. Like,
no.
even if you had the comprehension of it, you know, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, even the people who diagnose you and offer you support, they don't particularly understand the ins and outs of it. It's just they know the practical things that are going to help you in this situation. It's not much about personal development, which is the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
Some people get it if they get the right teachers and the right ethos and people and all that kind of stuff, then you could work. But
yeah,
so it's a very much a personal journey for most people.
Yeah. Like,
but better to be diagnosed around our age than 40 or 50.
Yeah.
Like some people that I know.
That's it. Like, it's better to be diagnosed young than I'll say old. But yeah, like, I know at Wentworth Miller, he got diagnosed, I think, a bit older than we call young. So yeah, you will get people that get diagnosed, which they've probably had it since they was younger, just getting diagnosed at that later age. But yeah, I think
it's a genetic thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
if you have autism, if you get diagnosed with autism 50, you haven't like magically received an autism. It's been around there for ages. I find it really interesting to talk to people who are autistic but haven't been diagnosed, you know, see what sort of mechanisms they've put in place and what masking they've done to get by in society up until that point. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like if someone thinks they have it and they don't, then like it's just, I suppose it's a task getting the tests done. Like if you're a bit older, like you feel like now I'm older enough, I just think I've got autism.
Exactly.
I don't want to or need to, because what's the point? I'm older. I'm older now. What's it going to do for me now? But it's always nice. Well, it's always good to see if you do have it or not.
Is very, very important, I would say.
It helps with a lot of things, because you can get more support if you're struggling with it. And I think it like, as you say, it is important to get a diagnosis even if you feel like little things are up, because I know I didn't see anything. I know my parents did, because they saw the things of getting autism diagnosis, because a 9-year-old couldn't do that by themselves, or a 10-year-old.
It's definitely worth it, but the waiting lists are, you know, they're extensive. Like, it takes you ages to get a diagnosis, because the medical professionals don't put you as high of a priority because you're older. But you know, there's a lot of autistic people that I've met who are very heavily isolated in their 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 20s, and it's a real issue. And being able to know that you're autistic gives you a fighting chance in learning those social skills that come naturally to other people.
Yeah.
And also it gives you a community as well, of like-minded autistic people to connect with. It's a very important thing. I'm not saying that all people in the autistic community are amazing, beautiful, paragons of light, paladins of light, whatever. It can be a very stressful thing to do to introduce yourself to the autistic community due to the, people policing language and terms and all that stuff. So it's not always the best experience, but it at least gives you the confidence to kind of get yourself out there and I guess make up for the downsides of being autistic.
Yeah, because like I never thought I would create a podcast. Oh, really? Well, like I suppose it takes a lot to speak about it as well, autism. Like just to see there
You
are a
have
lot
to be very open, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you have to be open about it. Like there are personal things about it as well. Like aside of autism, I'd say I'm quite sensory. Um, having autism. Like I don't like loud noise. Say someone's eating. I always say this to most people. We talk about autism. I always bring the same thing up. But what I normally say is like, if someone's eating next to me with a plate and it scrapes like with their fork, to me that feels like a chalkboard scraping to me. I presume it does to quite a lot of people, but
yes, I relate to that.
yeah, and I say stop, because in my mind I'm not making no noise on my plate and they are. So I think, what's going on here?
Indeed.
Yeah. Even if it's food that require, of course you're required to make some noise, but not like loud, like
No.
I feel like if I'm
that
in
whole
one
thing
room,
of understanding, isn't it? It's if you're aware of sensory issues and you understand what it's like, you don't just know you shouldn't make loud noises around autistic people. You understand that it's physically painful. Then maybe people would make those accommodations and be a bit more wary of it. The thing is, people don't think about that, and that's why we need all these charities and support networks in place to make sure that we're okay. Because in a society where we've molded education and we've molded support and we've molded psychotherapy and medication and got a good basis for improving social skills at a young age, integrating people, then we wouldn't need all that. We wouldn't need the autism diagnosis, because it'd just be a natural part of it. They're autistic. These are the things we need to make adjustments for. All's done and dusted. That's it. It's just, it's very much in its infancy as far as the world's concerned. Although it has been known about for a while, it's very slowly starting to integrate nowadays. And I hope that with these podcasts and with these videos and with social media, and more of an opportunity to get the word out and to try and make these societal changes.
Yeah, I think social media is a good way just to get your word out and your point across. And I found that there are quite a lot of understanding people on there have autism as well, and
Definitely.
like at first when you're diagnosed, you may feel like, especially if you're at a mainstream school, you feel like you may not be many people who have autism like yourself,
Yeah.
but like some people who have autism do well um in mainstream, but I found very little that do that.
I found one.
Yeah.
Found one. I'm not totally convinced that they have it all figured out, to be honest, but each to their own. I don't think it's definitely not a nurturing environment.
No.
Even for non-autistic people, it's not. For a lot of them, it's not great. Being autistic just adds being picked on and bullied and all that stuff. It's like kids can sniff it out. Like, he's autistic. Let's take advantage of his low social skills.
Definitely.
It's. I'm glad that you went to special school just for your mental health.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, because it helps a lot. Mental health is very important with autism, with the community in general. I think it's just great to it's hard. That's another thing on top of speaking about your mental health, because that's personal as well. Like, everyone has mental health. Like, it's very it's an important thing to talk about, I think.
Do you like me to talk about my mental health?
Yeah, you can talk about your mental health.
I do realize that we've got 10. I just thought I'd sneak that in.
No worries.
I'd ask rather. So I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, along with a couple of dissociative disorders, when I was 14,
Yeah.
following a lot of bullying and isolation and difficulties, panic attacks, meltdowns, all that stuff. And eventually it turned into something fairly severe. I did a lot of things that were not healthy towards myself, like self-harm, and I became bulimic for a portion of time. And a lot of that stemmed from the difficulties that I had in school, socially and emotionally. I felt very disconnected from people and felt very, very lonely in myself. And what we know from the scientific literature is that chronic long-term pain quite often leads to some depression due to the hormones through the HPA axis, which is just a you don't need to understand it. It just means when you get anxious, you release something, and then that makes you more likely to, basically. And and the psychological aspect of it's never going to change, all that kind of stuff. It kind of leads you into a bit of a dark place, and I think it's a dark place that a lot of autistic people find themselves in. I've had my difficulties, particularly with suicidal ideation, for a long time, particularly up until about the age of 22. Actually, it was very, very much at the forefront of my mind a lot of the time, and it's something that I've acted on a couple of times. Thankfully, I didn't succeed, and I'm fine nowadays. Saying thanks to a few people who helped me out in those states. And it's something that it's very hard to live with. I like to describe myself as a high functioning, severely depressed person, which I don't think, because most people with my diagnosis, the level of symptoms that I have wouldn't be able to function, which is completely understandable. I guess my meaning for carrying on with life and going through is that, you know, I want to help people.
Yeah.
And if my negative experiences can provide some positivity, or at least remove some of those negative experiences for other people, then I consider my life, you know, used.
Yeah.
And
That's it.
that's very concise in my journey of mental health.
Yeah. 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 I think it's good that you had the support there, and like you're doing better than you was like now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still has, it didn't go away. It just becomes a little bit easier to frame. You know, it's my goal anymore isn't to be depressed or to be happy. It's to fulfill meaning that I've and enacted in the world, and that's what really keeps me going.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how is it, Thomas? Like, how does your mental health affect you during like this pandemic, this like ongoing pandemic?
It's a difficult one, that, because I'm fine when I've got a routine. So the start and the end of the pandemic, lockdown rather, you know, like the big full scale lockdown.
Yeah.
Those were the hardest bits for me because there was a lot of transitions between. But once I was comfortable at either side of that, it was all right. It wasn't too bad for me. You know, I'd hate to go into another lockdown because I'm very much. I started like yourself with the podcast. I started going to the gym once the lockdown ended, and I've been going since, and it's quite a big staple part of my supporting myself with my mental health difficulties.
Yeah. Yeah. Like during that first lockdown, I had to stay in for quite a long time because I was in the shielding category. So I was in the high vulnerable group. So I took that time to go outside, as lots of people were indoors during that lockdown. And I thought it was the best time because not many people were outside at that time. And then as the lockdowns, as to now, at the moment, I do not seeing as many people. There's been time I do still see friends and family members, but I always be careful to take the right precautions, because you just don't know with COVID, like autism. They're two completely different things, but everyone has a different experience of COVID. So you just don't know.
Speaking of COVID, like there's something recently that's happened, and it's really been playing on my mind quite a bit. There's a person who I did a lot of work with, and was fairly close with within the autistic community, and I got the message from one of the members that one of the creators he passed away very recently, and it's it just put it into perspective, really, because you know, I just find it absolutely insane that some people still think that COVID's a myth.
Yeah, it's
and
not,
that you shouldn't get vaccinated because the government are trying to control you, and the COVID is a way the government is going to help exert power on you or something stupid like that. It's the government would not do that. Like
no.
It's it affects the world's economy massively. So it's going off on a tangent there, but
I know who you mean, but just because it's upsetting, it's very upsetting, like hearing someone's past with the autism community. He did so much, but we won't talk too much into it because it is it's a topic that is upsetting, isn't it?
Well, it's an upsetting topic, and I don't think that their family is comfortable with divulging the details of it. But
no.
I just wanted to make people aware of it because it it impact on people's lives, you know.
Yeah, it has, and
Um,
like just don't, I suppose, take everything for granted, and like close ones will unfortunately pass away from COVID, which it is sad because you do get people who are silly and they don't take COVID as seriously. Um,
yeah.
and then of course you'll get the anti-vaxxers, but everyone has an opinion on the vaccine, but
I want to go
yeah,
get my vaccines. I want a level up autism.
yeah, yeah,
Can get
yeah,
autism level 2.
yeah. We need some of
That's a
them.
shout out. That's a shout out to my friend Vicky from
Yeah,
actually Asperger on Instagram. She
yeah.
introduced me to that.
Yeah,
Very.
we had Vicky on here as well. Thomas.
Oh really? Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. It was her episode released not. I think it was before Christmas. So like late last year it did release. So it was a lovely chat. I think like everyone in the autism community is lovely. Um, like I've never had a dull or bad moment with anyone. So like
Yes. Yeah.
Vicky do some really good work. Like spends
She
quite a lot
does.
of her time.
She recently lost her Instagram account.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
Due to Instagram shutting her out of account or something. So if anyone wants to boost
Yeah,
up her mood, I think she had about 6,000
she
followers or
did. She
something,
did.
and she lost all of that, and she hasn't gained the traction to where she was. So rather than if you're going to follow anyone from this, follow Vicky actually Aspling, because she deserves it. She does.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
she's great. I think like I'm sure she will gain all that like all
Yeah.
that attraction
Yeah.
again because she
She's
does
very,
a great
very
thing.
interesting as well.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
very interesting. She's doing a PhD. I think looking at the um, ways to adjust the autism diagnosis to better fit females,
yeah,
women. It's very good work that she's doing both online and in the scientific realm.
yeah. Because like yeah, she does great work. Like I know she's into her gaming as well. So
Yeah, she
yeah,
is.
she's into her gaming.
I am too.
Yeah,
I'm a RuneScaper.
yeah.
That's me.
I like gaming as well, so we're on that boat. Yeah, I'm normally a PlayStation gamer, even though I have a PC, a PC,
Mhm.
which I need to start using because I normally use it on the podcast, but
Mm.
there's aspects of it on my keyboard lights up, so I'm a big fan of gaming, and in my spare time, I do spend quite a lot of time doing that.
Me too.
Yeah,
It's usually a supplement to video calls or voice calls with my
yeah.
friends.
Yeah,
It's,
like it's an
it's a good
escape, isn't it,
combination.
from like reality, like what's going on in the world, and you can take that
Yeah,
time for gaming.
yeah. It can also be a bad thing.
Yeah, it can,
For some people. For
yeah,
some people. I'd say the majority probably get the fill of it and go on with
yeah,
life as well.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
RuneScape is one of those games like World of Warcraft where you could spend your whole life playing the game, as like a 9 to 5 job, even more, and still not be able to complete everything. So it's
takes time.
there's a lot of actually, yeah, there's a lot of YouTube creators that make YouTube videos on RuneScape, and
Yeah,
they do it as a full-time job.
yeah,
It's very, very good creators to watch if you're into
yeah,
RuneScape.
yeah. Like I I own a PS5, so on the PlayStation, I'm always interested in the numbers, like of the games I play, or I look and I see it tells me how many hours you play on a game now on the PS5. So it tells me how many hours you play on it, and I always look at that. Like I like action games, so
Yeah.
I'll see how
I
many
don't
hours
like
I've
to
put.
see that.
Yeah,
I don't like to see how much
yeah.
time
No,
you can do that
no,
in RuneScape as well.
yeah,
I'm like, why would I want to do that?
yeah,
It's just a
yeah,
reminder of life on a virtual virtual world.
Yeah,
No
PlayStation.
thanks.
Like with like some of course on PS5 it doesn't see how sorry, but PlayStation 4 it doesn't show how many hours you played. So I get some of my friends ask me, go on my account, see how many hours I played that game and that game, and they say
Yeah.
and I'll say like 1,000 or some games 9,000 because they're old, and then they'll be oh look at that, but I suppose I can't get out of not looking when it's always there.
Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, like with your podcast, Thomas, like how often do you like upload episodes and do episodes on it?
Every 2 weeks, and I've been taking a break because I've just finished up the first season last year, and the second one's going to be coming in February. So
Okay.
fairly close,
Not that far.
not too far away, maybe just over a month. And I've revamped it. I've recently been learning Adobe and Adobe Animate and Adobe Illustrator, so I'm making like a little sort of background of my room, like drawing it, and then I'm going to try and animate it and put my podcast over that when I upload it to YouTube. So it's all very good. Having a major shift up with it, so it's looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm good because I like since my podcast I've had a various break, but not a long one. So because I'm on series 5 at the moment, and what I'm going to do this year, I'm going to get to because I used to on the former seasons, like season 1 was about 30 episodes, 2, 3, 4 about 20 episodes each. But now I'm doing series 5 on about maybe 100 episodes because I feel like a podcast is different to like a series on telly where a lot more episodes is better for it in a season.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that, but not going to release all 100. I'm on about, well, I'm not going to say what I'm on about, but I'm going to reach that, but I'll probably reach that next year and have a summer break this summer. So that's the reason why if I'm having a break, I can still release the odd episode like an Easter special or a spring or Christmas special still if I'm not uploading a season.
That's a big dedication. Like out of episodes, like I've probably got about 35 out.
Yeah. I suppose I have more time to do them, and like having a break in the summer would be nice, and to do other things like go on holidays hopefully this year.
Well, it's also a good time to kind of step back and look at where you want to take the podcast and rejig the format and rejig the way you edit and all that kind of stuff. It's always good to have a creative break now and again.
Yeah, just not doing it for 3 weeks. To go on holiday or have more time doing something you like maybe gaming. Not all the time, no. But like me, I'm a nighttime one. I'm a night owl, so I'm on there in the morning. Not the whole through the night, but like get off about maybe 3 or 4 in the morning sometimes, just because if I don't have to get up in the following morning, that is.
Exactly. Well,
just
I can't do that.
Yeah. I try not to.
I mean, you must not see the sun in the winter. You'll wake up. It's nighttime again.
Yeah, it's like at night time. I love it because you don't get many notifications on your phone. Everyone's asleep, unless I get a ping from someone from America or something or other side of the world. Because you get that on Instagram. I've had people on the podcast, not just from the UK. So I could talk to someone at 3 o'clock and it'd be in the evening for them. So I do like. It's funny because I do still get up in the morning if I have to, but I know if I have to get up, I will go to bed at an earlier time. So maybe at 12 or 1, which is more reasonable than 3 or 4. But yeah,
12 or 1's a good one for me.
Yeah,
that's the optimum amount of sleep for me. I need a good old rest.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's thankful that I work from home, so I don't have to up at like 7 or 8 and get out
Yeah.
of the house, I can just
Yeah.
knock up at 9 and just go on my laptop.
I've been doing my work from home as well, just not prior for COVID, because there's no aircon. Well, there's an aircon, but no windows, so no air ventilating the room where I would go. For college, that is. I don't have a job, but
Yeah.
I would probably, if I wasn't as vulnerable, I suppose, and I take medication that dampens my immune system, so what cancer patients take, so that puts me at risk of probably doing stuff. And what I want to do, because I am qualified to be a football coach, so I want to do that, but I can't. Hopefully this year, that's my aim, but because you have to be quite in close contact, don't you, with a football coach? So that's an aim.
That's a good aim. That's a good aim.
It's been an aim for last year and the year before, but it's been this year as well. But yeah, like, what is your podcast called, Thomas?
My podcast is called the Thoughly Auti Podcast.
Yeah.
And it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, all of those places. You can also find it on YouTube channel, which is Asperger's Growth. My social medias are also Asperger's Growth, Instagram being the main one, basically.
Yeah. So if anyone listening, if you go and check that out, Thomas is a podcast there, like, it'd be great, and like, it's always nice to have new people to listen to a podcast as well.
Yeah, well, possibly when I set up my second season, I'll invite you on to have a talk. So I quite like to delve more into that sort of growing up in a special school kind of situation, because it's not something that I've taught in special schools, but I haven't experienced it.
Yeah, it'll be nice to it'd be nice to come on your second season on your show, because like I have been on a few different podcasts. Like, I've been on other podcasts that people have done, and I enjoy going on someone else's, because you step back from being a host.
Yeah,
which I'm sure you're feeling at the moment.
Again. Yeah, I'm enjoying it for the time being. No editing for me. No social media. No thumbnail. Organizing. It's lovely.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to hopefully like appearing on your show, and it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Thomas, as well.
Pleasure. I was going to say the pleasure is mutual.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on, Mason.
Thank you, Thomas.
See you later.
Yeah.